It's a special episode of Cure of the What Now. It's time to talk about Suite PreCure. Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't know you were going to do that. Hello, fellow musically inclined boys and girls, and welcome to this special Suite Retrospective episode of
Cure of the What Now.
one show where we know you have to embrace the depression. You can't just push it deep down inside and pretend it's not there.
Absolutely.
If you're sad, you eat that Cheeto. My name is Kat, and I'm a cat who was bad, but now I'm good. But I'm also not a cat anymore, so that might be saying something. Some biological essentialism.
A-cab, but the C is for cat?
Is it wrong?
No, it's absolutely not. I'm your co-host, Joel, and also, I'm a magical tuba that has eyes and arms, but no mouth, so I can't scream, no legs, and, how do I use the bathroom?
How do you eat?
Okay, maybe I don't need to.
See, now, I look at you and I want to scream, but I also am filled with a great sadness for you, because I imagine you want to scream every day. Every waking minute must be agony, but you have no mouth.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we've been talking about this in the main show for a while now, but, we finished Suite PreCure, and so I just figured why not talk about the season kind of like as a whole with some wrap-up thoughts. Kat, you've alluded a couple of times to like, I want to talk about this if we have a larger discussion about Suite PreCure, so I hope you remember those thoughts that you put on hold, because I certainly don't remember. Like if we were talking about, isn't it cool how fairies are awesome, and you're like, I have something to say about Suite on that. I don't remember what segue you used to say, I want to talk about that in the Suite episode.
Yeah, I really don't either. Maybe for Doki Doki, I'll write some of those things down as they happen.
Gosh, wouldn't it be great if we were organized people who could actually keep track of ourselves?
Oh man, that sounds like having executive functioning, and what a life that would be. What a life. Quick succinct summary of Suite if you haven't been listening to our podcast up until now. Kind of weird that this is where you chose to jump in, but you are welcome. We're glad you're here. Suite PreCure is about two girls who are very, very different, and that causes friction between them, but also they love each other, and the harmony that they make together enables them to be PreCure, which are girls with the power to fight evil. There is an evil creature called Noise-sama, whose minions are trying to revive him. He was sealed away long ago. And
by a hot grandpa.
Who
wasn't a hot grandpa at the time.
And he had a sword, which isn't musical, but it is fun. Anyway, he was sealed away. His minions are trying to bring him back by making people despair. The girls fight the monsters that they summon that cause people to despair.
Zetsubo, you say?
Eventually, they get a second friend, and then a fourth.
Yeah. Well, they get a third friend and then a fourth. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I can do math. And then Noise is revived, and they discover that Noise is born of all of the despair that people feel. For everything happy, something sad also occurs. It's very Madoka of them. And the girls defeat Noise not by punching him really hard, but by realizing you have to embrace your sadness and you have to allow it to be a part of your life so that the happy things and the special things can be that much more special.
Absolutely.
Also, it had Hummy.
Yes. So, brief rundown of the characters. Again, if this is somehow your first episode of the podcast and you haven't seen Suite, that'd be a very strange combination. But you have Hibiki, who's the main pink Cure. She becomes Cure Melody, right? Okay, I always think that she should be Rhythm. You have Kanade, who is a baker lady, and she transforms into Cure Melody, and Cure Rhythm, and she is the white Cure of the season. Very clever, because other seasons either have a main lead that's pink or sometimes themed white, but this one you have the duet, and it's pink and white. You have Akko, the youngest PreCure in all of the seasons so far, who turns into Cure Muse. And then you have Ellen, who used to be an evil cat named Siren, but then got a human form and she became Cure Beat.
Yes, after she pushed Hummy over and made the cutest sound in the world. Other characters include Hummy, who is the fairy for this season, Queen Aphrodite, who is Akko's mom and the queen of the magic place.
And could be mistaken for Princess Peach, perhaps, by some.
By some, but not by me.
No, not by you, no.
You have King Mephisto, who was evil for a while, but actually he's the king and Aphrodite's husband. You have Otakichi, who
That's
is
the hot grandpa.
the hot grandpa who defeated Noise with a sword. And that's pretty much all the characters that matter. I think I didn't mention the minor trio. The minor trio are the generals for this season.
Absolutely. And then, there's Hummy's the fairy. She's a cat. She's super cute. There's things called the fairy tones. But, like, seriously, just watch Suite PreCure. At the top of this episode, let's just start off with the big question. Catherine, did you enjoy this season?
I really liked this season a lot.
So between love it and like it, a 4 or a 5 on the scale?
I would say I loved it.
Okay. I would also say that I loved it.
I would definitely watch it again. Or if somebody was like, which seasons would you recommend? It would be in, like, my list of 3 that I was like, try this one if you like this, and this one if you like this, and this one if you like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, I broke this down on our Discord that, I was like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate it? And 1's like, I hate it, 2's like, I dislike it, 3's like, meh, 4's like, and 5 is love. I think I would have to put love, but I do not know what delineates a season that I love from a season that I like. I think almost all seasons that I do like are love. I go all in on those seasons.
We went into this a little bit in our ranking video that will be up on our YouTube channel someday. But I feel like the difference for me between like it and love it is for love it, I might rewatch it by myself. And like it is, I would rewatch it with someone else, but not by myself. So I would probably give Sweet a 5. I think I would put it on if I were sick or sad or something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I was thinking about, like, is there a season that I would say that I like and not that I love? And I think the longer we get further away from Tropical Rouge, which was our first season we watched episode to episode as it was airing, I think that is a like it for me because I know that I enjoy it. And I want to defend it if I see someone being like, this was a crap season and why would anyone watch it? But I think I have to kind of talk myself into being like a super fan of it. And I think for me, that's what differentiates like from love.
Absolutely. I was about to ask, did you like this season? But the conversation
that's what
we're just having.
I did want to focus on, can you identify what you would say is like the secret sauce that makes this season good? Or what's its strength, I guess?
I think its strength is in the bonds between the characters.
Okay.
So you've got the main relationship, which is Hibiki and Kanade, and if their relationship was not believable, then this whole season would fall apart because it's really centered around the two of them. But then you also have these tertiary relationships or secondary relationships that work because Hibiki and Kanade work. Mm-hmm. So, for example, you've got Hummy and Siren, right? And their relationship, and Hummy's incessant, I believe in Siren, and Hibiki and Kanade going, why? But wanting to support Hummy, and Hummy's belief in Siren is what turns her into Ellen, into the side of good. Or you've got Akko's relationship with Soda. She doesn't really care about the human world. She's here because she's trying to fight against the evil generals so she can get her dad back, and this is where her grandpa is. But, like, she wouldn't stay here. She doesn't have any roots here, except that Kanade's younger brother is such a wholesome cinnamon bun that he kind of gives her a reason to care beyond her very narrow worldview. And then you've got each of the Cure's relationships with their families, which I would say is not a strength of every season, but it is a strength of this one. Their parents are real people who have effects on their lives beyond, an episode. Hibiki's mom not being there actually matters.
Sure.
And it's a part of her arc. So I think that all comes together to make this a really enjoyable season to watch because you're rooting for these people to get along and to keep moving forward in their relationships and understanding of one another.
Absolutely. I was thinking about if there was like a specific thing about this season that that was like its biggest strength to me. And if I had to pick one, like if there was a threat of violence, if I didn't come up with an answer, I'd probably say I really like Hummy. Like Hummy is top 2 fairies for me. But there's so many other little pieces that if they were taken out or they weren't handled correctly, it just wouldn't work. The minor trio as a group, they play off of each other pretty well, although I think they could be better characterized. I really like Mephisto, both kind of as this incompetent villain who I compared to Wario many times on this podcast, but then I also like him when he has his heel face turn. Yeah, I said that right. When he comes back to the side of good, I like his dorky dad energy.
His dorky dad energy and his sheer wife guy power are so good.
Yes, exactly. So there's a ton that goes into the season, but I don't think I can identify one that's the secret sauce. One thing, and we've discussed this on the main show, but the way that this season starts is Hibiki and Kanade were childhood friends who drifted apart, and they don't seem to get along at all. They seem to yell at each other constantly, and basically like a messy breakup, honestly. But then I was wondering if the entire season was going to be them growing closer together, and it turns out that is mostly kind of like the first arc, and then once they mostly get along, then it switches to the Hummy Siren Hour, and then after that changes to the Muse Hour, and after that. But I wonder if they could have made it last a little bit longer, and if I would have preferred that. I would love to see another season tackle the two friends who maybe don't get along anymore, or maybe two strangers who are opposites but drawn together through, they both love music, or for example. But I think that they handled it pretty well. I don't think 45 episodes is the right amount of time to have these two just constantly yelling at each other after they've saved the world together a couple of times.
Absolutely, you'd get annoyed. At the same time, if you think about how the thesis of this show overall is kind of bad times will happen, that's a side effect of having happy times. Like, you can't just always have happy times. I think that makes the ups and downs of their friendship more powerful. Because, yes, there will be downs, but we accept that and we come back together and then we have those ups. I do agree with you that I wish that they had had a little bit more time to flesh out the conflict. At the same time, I think they threw in enough pieces of it that it kind of lasted.
Sure.
Also, like we were saying, we would have gotten really bored of 45 episodes of, I hate you, I hate you! No, I like you, actually.
Well, and because we watched like 3 series at a time at different rates, was this the season it was where they got separated into different dimensions and they had to like call to each other? That was a pretty good scene. I think that about wrapped up their energy together. So.
Absolutely. And I would say that was probably one of my favorite episodes. You know who else kind of had their conflict and then didn't have conflict anymore?
Who's that?
Hummy and Ellen.
Yeah.
Like, I get that Ellen, once she was no longer under the influence of the noise of evil, had no reason to be mean to Hummy. But I got the impression she was always a little standoffish, and I feel like she just flipped entirely. And Hummy was always kind of head empty, like, I love you no matter what, even if you're being cranky and pushing me off cliffs.
Kanade Hummy, or Kanade Hibiki, I think that Siren's my friend. Hummy, she literally put you in a sack and abandoned you in the middle of the forest. That's just what friends do. That's how she shows her love. Her love language is kidnapping people and abandoning them in the forest.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I think you're right that Ellen had a kind of cat-like attitude even when she was in Majorland before she got turned evil. She had a bit of attitude, and then when she became good, it seemed to like completely cure all of her flaws. At the same time, I love the character that Ellen became after she was done being Siren. It really does feel like they're two separate characters. It's almost like Siren died and got reincarnated into human form, so she has like some of her memories and attachments to Hummy, but like some bits of her personality change in the regeneration, to use Doctor Who language,
Okay, that's not bad. I do like how enthusiastic she was about learning to be a person.
Yes!
That was
absolutely.
Pretty good. But we're talking about things we would change still, right?
I don't think we officially mentioned that.
Oh, we just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, so that we have a couple of questions that we are going to use to kind of like guide the discussion, and my first one was, what are the strengths of Suite PreCure? And then the other thing is like, is there anything that you would change or maybe criticize, or that wasn't handled as well as it could have been?
Right, and I think a major change that I would make is I would get rid of Akko.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think you could easily, if you still wanted one of the cures is a child of Majorland plot line, you could easily fill that role with Ellen. You could even have Hibiki be
Ellen
like...
DeGeneres, you mean? Or okay.
You could even have Hummy be the secret princess of Majorland, and like she never mentioned it because she just wanted to be friends with the girls and focus on her job.
That would fit her so well.
Right?
And I think if they developed a relationship with Aphrodite a little bit more, what they could have done is when they found out that Mephisto was actually her wife, or her husband, sorry, pronouns,
men can be
whatever.
wives, it's what...
But they could have like appealed to his sense of, don't you love her? We care about Aphrodite, so we're doing this for her. I think that would work pretty well as well. Yeah, Akko, I would say, is probably my least favorite a little bit. I think both Ellen and Akko have this sort of like, we don't know what friendship is, please teach us, Twilight Sparkle, what it can mean. And then they kind of like start to warm up, but Ellen warms up more drastically, more quickly, whereas Akko, they don't even figure out the Muse thing. Like, she doesn't become one of their teammates until like episode like 35 of 48, I think. So...
Yeah. No, she really does join the team so late in the season that by then it's like, well, I guess she's here.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
I really do like the Cure Muse mystery. I just think that it would have been better in a season where there were only 3 cures instead of having to split the attention between Ellen becomes a cure, but also we've got this other thing going on over here.
Yeah, I could definitely see that criticism. I think one thing, and you would have to strike the proper balance, because if you changed it too completely, you would lose some of the special sauce. But as I alluded to, the minor trio work off of each other pretty well, but for the most part, I wouldn't say that I know Baritone's personality other than he likes being pretty, and that only comes into play near the very end of the season. I don't really know anything about bass drum, or is it bass drum? Ha ha ha, last time I get to make that joke. But...
I'm sure you'll find a way.
Yeah, somehow. But, like, I don't really know much about his personality other than he wants to be the leader, and I don't really understand why. And, you know, it's basically a Saturday morning cartoon, so you don't need to flesh out your characters. But, like, I liked the interplay in Go Princess between Lock, Shut, and, what's the last one? Close, pretty well. So I think you could have given a little more attention to baritone and bass drum, just... give them an episode where they're separated from the minor trio somehow. Like, either they are basically a Cerberus with 3 bodies instead of 1 body and 3 heads, or make them more distinct people.
I do kind of like them as a single character, though.
Yes, like, you punch bass drum in the stomach and Baritone goes, ah! And he, like, doubles over.
Well, not even that, just the way the show utilizes them. Like, they're always on their tandem bike. Right?
That's true.
They are always doing things together. Their bickering kind of follows the same pattern every time. Like, the reason that we don't really ever see one of them alone is because they're not the minor uno, they're the minor trio.
Yeah, but at the same time, near the end of the season, you start to get Mephisto, or Falsetto, like, becoming his own separate entity, and, like, I don't know, I think... work could be done on the minor trio, and I'm not saying it makes the season bad, I'm just saying if they made it even better, I would be sitting here being like, oh my gosh, look at how well they did this idea of this trio that's constantly together, enacting evil deeds.
Absolutely, and you could have their relationship be more centric, and them having problems with each other and not being able to overcome them the way that Hibiki and Kanade are overcoming their differences would show you, like, the difference between the hero and the villain.
Yeah. Also, near the end of the season, we get bass drum and baritone being saved from their evil hypnosis or whatever and briefly coming back to being human. Wouldn't it be interesting if Falsetto, like... when he went under the influence of Noisama, he kind of cut them out, and he was just like, I don't need you to anymore, and then they were so sad that Hibiki and Kanade eventually, like, find sympathy for them. Like, I think that could be a pretty interesting way to handle that conversion or whatever.
Absolutely. Their throuple was broken up by evil.
It absolutely was. Last thing that I think could use a little bit of attention, I like having... multiple characters have the hots for Oji-sama. You know, Kanade is, like, she's normally the reserved one, but for some reason she just goes into, like, freak mode when she's around Oji-sama. And, like, Ellen finding the warmth of the human world, not just through the 2 cures, but through, you know, this handsome boy. I like that. but they sort of just drop him partway through the season, and I kind of like just one episode where there's a what are they called, a Sadie Hawkins dance, where they could ask him to go, and they both want to ask him, and maybe they have to work that out somehow, or I don't know.
That would be good. You know that thing characters in anime sometimes do where they like hold hands and they press their faces together because they're really excited? Ellen and Kanade doing that together over Oji-sama. Like, and they're just gushing. He's so cute. Yes, isn't he? Isn't he?
Oh my god.
He's so good at the piano. I know. I love when he plays the piano.
And if this is a version of Suite that still has Akko, we're not taking, that suggestion into consideration just at the moment. Akko could be like, I don't get it. And Hibiki could just be like, you'll get it when you're older. Like, you're not quite to the age where boys are interesting to you yet. And then, like, Hibiki could be like, well, actually, and it might not even be boys. It might be someone else. I don't know.
Yep, Hibiki she does give off strong no romance vibes.
Yeah.
She's devoted to Kanade and eating cupcakes, She knows Kanade's cakes better than anyone.
I could see, she does know Kanade's cakes better than anyone. I could see Hibiki and Kanade in the future getting common law married. Like, they live together, and Hibiki is just like, they don't really go on dates. Like, they go out and they shop together, whatever, but it's not romantic. But then one day Kanade just, like, looks up and be like, do you want to file our taxes together? And Hibiki's just like, sure? And he doesn't know what's going on, but Kanade does, and that's okay.
Yep. No, I love that. Headcanon accepted. Is there anything else that you would change or that you want to shout out before we move to your next question?
We mentioned this in our main series where we were watching it kind of episode by episode or in 2 to 3 episode chunks a week. I wish that we had more time with P-chan, the bird, rather than having the bird show up and then the next episode or 2 episodes later we find out that it's evil. If that bird had shown up much earlier in the season and had just been like an occasional friend that they see, kind of like how Odakichi is kind of sporadically throughout the first couple of episodes, I think that would make the betrayal hit harder.
I agree.
And there'd be a bigger mystery. Like, Odakichi could be like, I sealed away Noise-sama 5,000 years ago, or whenever it was, yesterday. And then it turns out that, like, yes, he sealed Noise in the rock, but actually, like, a single feather, like, came off and, like, kind of asexually or whatever, like, morphed into, like, this little bird that's going to, like, inherit his will. It could be Noise-sama's son, something like that.
Sorry, Odakichi, despair is everywhere.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about favorite cures. And before we get into this, I actually want to shout out one of the thoughts that we have from Magical Girl Ayu. Because this struck me as like, oh my gosh, what? There were famous fan-made fake leaks that were so good that to this day people outside of Japan think that Toei made them. That's me. I'm people outside of Japan. Someone on the Reddit told me that Toei made the fake leaks, or it was in an article or something. I think it was an article I read on Why Sweet is a Good Season, where they were saying, they played up this big mystery about Cure Muse, and Toei even leaked some fake cures just to throw people off the track. But apparently, according to Ayu, if you read what the text on the fake leaks
in Japanese,
says,
of course, yeah.
Right. It says, this is fake fakery and I, a rando, faked it. So, thank you, Ayu, for correcting my misconception. But man, those leaks are good. I hope Toei hires that person.
Absolutely. Or hired, since this was, 6 years ago or so, however long ago it was.
A while.
Yes. Absolutely.
So favorite cure.
Favorite cures. Okay, so I can safely say that of these 4 cures, no hate to the Muse lovers, but I would say that she's probably my least favorite, and that partially might just be because she's such a late entry into the series.
Really quickly, can you give me 2 answers? Favorite design and favorite character? Like favorite cure character.
I really, really, really like Kanade as Cure Rhythm. Yeah, I like the white, I like the bow, I like the tutu, and I mean,
she's very angelic in her presentation as a cure.
Yeah, exactly. And, she and Hibiki as Melody, as Rhythm, jeez, I'm gonna keep messing that up.
Hibiki is Melody, Kanade is Rhythm.
Kanade is Rhythm?
Yes.
Okay. Anyways, I like that their designs are very similar to each other. I I don't like the pink that they used for Hibiki, and I don't have the right words to express why.
It's too cool toned. You prefer warm toned pinks.
Yes, like vibrant pinks. Yeah, but no, my favorite design would probably be Kanade's rhythm. What's your favorite? Well, how about you? What's your favorite design?
I'm pretty sure it's got to be Ellen.
Okay,
as Cure Beat. I mean, purple is the thing. Also, she has a guitar.
That is true. And she does the little thing where she flicks her hair and it makes the little I wish I knew music terms because I'm sure there's a term for that. But no, I love Cure Beat. I think favorite Cure... I think you sold me. I think Cure Beat is my favorite Cure of them because she just has like this kind of personality and she's like this cool shield Cure who uses her guitar. Her guitar turns into a gun.
It turns into a gun and shoots a laser. Her music is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really like Cure Beat. So she's my answer for both questions. Are we allowed to be a little bit negative?
Sure.
I did not like Kanade. Generally speaking, as a character.
Okay. Is she a little too bossy for you?
A little too bossy, and I felt like you could see Hibiki growing and trying to be better, but I didn't feel like you got the same from Kanade. I felt like the show's stance was kind of, Kanade was always right to be this way, and like, she's just unpleasant. Like, there are a couple of episodes where she's really mean to her brother for no reason.
I was about to say, counterpoint... she is a little too strict on Soda, and then she realizes that she was being too harsh. So that I would say she gets some character growth, but I will agree she doesn't get the focus. Like I was constantly talking about like here's another example of how Hibiki is the main Cure, even though there should be two main Cures, and that's part of it is that Hibiki has so much time given to her, and you know near the end of the season, Hibiki starts to be the one who she's the pink Cure, so she starts to be like I believe in people, and I believe that if we work together, we can get rid of the sadness. And Kanade had less of that, and I was a little disappointed. I kind of would like her to also have, like, something that she contributes to the... Hibiki could be, I believe we can all find happiness, and Kanade could be like, I believe in hard work, or something, That could be her angle.
Yeah, give her a thing. I will also say that I feel like Kanade suffered from the rarity problem where she improved in isolation in episodes that were about her, but those improvements weren't sustained. So if she had an episode where she realized she was too strict with Soda, the next time you see her and Soda, she's being strict again in another episode. Like, she doesn't, think back like, oh, maybe I should be gentle with you this time.
Yeah, counterpoint, people don't always change that easily.
That's true.
But... I would love to see her have a moment where she's about to yell at him, and then you can kind of see her, like, breathing and just being like, hey, please help mom and dad when you have the chance, but also have fun. I think that would be a great moment of growth to show.
Absolutely.
Also, I gotta show... Oh, when we were talking about things that we liked and things that we would maybe change or criticize... I'd love one, and to a slightly lesser degree, Seka, because she doesn't have as much screen time, but they are best friends of Hibiki and Kanade, and also one criticism is that they did not become the mid-season Cures. I think we should have gotten a Juan and Seka Cure, and in fact, that's what the fake leak was. It was those two as Cures.
And they looked really good.
They looked amazing.
Yeah, I know I said that before, but I cannot get over how much I like the way the fake leak.
Especially Juan. Juan looks like she belongs in like a season that's based off of like wild cats or something. Like she's like the cheetah.
She looks like a lion or something. Yeah, she reminds me a lot of Ow from Delicious Party. No.
Kira PreCure, Alamode, longest PreCure series title ever. Also, I know you didn't watch Bleach, you've seen clips of it, but also it reminds me of Grimjow Jaggerjack, like super hard.
Yeah, okay. So Joel, I want to ask you, who was your favorite Cure before you saw Suite PreCure? Like, of all the seasons you've seen.
Yeah, I'd probably say... Oh no, it's another face blindness test. Is it Sparkle or Twinkle? It is Twinkle is my favorite.
From Princess.
From Go Princess, yes, Kirara.
Okay, yes, Kirara is excellent. I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but it's funny because she's my favorite character in Go Princess, but my favorite Cure overall is Cure Flora. I love Haruka.
The paradox of my wife.
So, what I was going... Twinkle's just fun to watch, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But Haruka is like something to aspire to.
Yeah.
Anyway, is Twinkle still your favorite, or does your favorite from this season?
Oh, no. Twinkle is definitely...
Okay.
Twinkle is in a class of her own. Like, if we eventually do a tier list, she's going to be, like, one of, like, 5 that make it into triple S, and the girls from this season, some of them are S, not triple S. They're just not going to take that from her.
Yep. Nope. No, I feel you. So, that's kind of...
One other question about the cures, and this is a question that I think you, having more experience as an artist, would better be able to speak to. What do you think of the color palette? What do you think of a pink, white, yellow, and kind of bluish purple?
I like it.
Okay.
I like that the palette for this season was very soft. Classical music plays a huge role in this season for obvious reasons, which to me is a very soft kind of experience.
Elegant. It's not hip-hop. It's not,
Exactly. And so I feel like the color palettes really well matched the tone of the season overall. I probably, if I had to change it, well, you really couldn't make Cure Beat brighter and more vibrant, because then she'd stand out too much from the rest of the group. But since she's got a rock theme going on, it would be cool if something in her design reflected that.
God, could you imagine if they gave her, like, rocker sunglasses in her Cure form?
That would be so good. But that's kind of how I feel. I really like their color palette. I know it's a little soft for you, but I think it fits this season.
I think it fits really well. And like I said, you have more experience as an artist. I'm learning to draw, but I still mostly just do pencil drawings. I don't do colored pencils a lot. But I like it. It's not my favorite color scheme, but I think it works for what they're trying to do.
Absolutely. If you were going to pick the colors for a music-themed season, what colors would you have done?
Oh, that is hard. And the question seems simple, but it's actually much more complicated because, what type of music? Is it a rock band type season, or is it going to be a season where they're each different genres? Is it going to be a specific type? And then, like, what are the different character archetypes going to be? Because I think that plays into what kind of outfits you would give them. I really like bright colors, and so I would probably do, like a blue and a red, maybe like a yellow. But no, this is the type of question that I can't just ad-lib off of.
I would do, and I mean, soften these colors if you want. So if I say red, turn it in your mind to pink. But I would do a red, a blue, and a yellow. And then they would have, like, harmony attacks that temporarily make them the colors of their colors mixed.
You're reading my fanfics again.
Yeah, you'd have, like, they'd become their green form or their purple form or their orange form. I think that would be cool.
That would be cool. My thoughts are just so scattered. I really should write these down before we start recording an episode. One thing that I will say, too, is I thought that the music was going to play a bigger role in this season. Mm-hmm. There are episodes where music is a huge part of it. In the movie and stuff, the characters are like, oh, just sing a song if you're sad. And like, okay, I can get behind that. But I kind of wish that it had been slightly more important. Like, Kanade doesn't even do music for the most part in this show. She's more about her baking dreams.
Yeah, she goes to an academy that's famous for its music, and she doesn't seem to play an instrument or sing or anything.
Yeah, and I mean, she practices piano with Hibiki, so it's more like that's like the teamwork aspect of it. I think it could have been cooler. One thing, and again, we talked about how the minor trio work is kind of like being like 3 people that also kind of like are soul bound to each other. But if I were to pitch another musically themed season, I would give each of the generals a different genre that they represent and then give them outfits and personalities that fit that. So you could have like a blues guy who's kind of like deep voice but doesn't talk a lot, and you get like
sexy grandpa guy.
You could have like a rocker who's just like always just like going like super hyped at all times. Nice. A punk person who just like kicks over trash cans. His weapon is a baseball bat or something like that.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that would be fantastic.
But
yeah, definitely I think that incorporating the music would have made a difference, although it was in their transformation and everything. And I mean, like, I think about Tropical Rouge, which supposedly a big motif was supposed to be like gaining courage from makeup, and it's something Minatsu said every once in a while, but they weren't like actively interested in makeup except for Sango. So
Yeah, I would say that Tropical Rouge did even worse at incorporating its themes. And I was thinking about this, like how much do they have to incorporate their themes? And I think the amount of music that they had in Suite PreCure is acceptable. I wouldn't. I guess
I'm going to dock them points.
I was about to say I'm going to dock them a few points, but I'm not going to like say this season sucks because it doesn't have music in it. But I will say that it does not utilize that motif quite as well as Kira Kira or Star Twinkle, where they're constantly going into space, as opposed to Suite, where you have the occasional talent competition type of thing.
Totally.
Okay.
Who's your favorite villain?
Oh.
Or let me ask this another way: can you guess who my favorite villain was?
I think you're going to say Mephisto.
I think you're right. I love dads. Listen,
Oh, man.
I know a lot of people who really love PreCure watch PreCure because they prefer shows that are about girls. And I think that's awesome. You know, shonen anime gets a lot of attention in the mainstream, and it's mainly about boys and boy characters.
Some might argue, rightfully so, that it doesn't treat its women characters very well.
Yeah, we even were on a panel type discussion about that. But my point is, if you are a person who watches PreCure specifically because you only want to watch shows about girls, I think that's great. I am a huge man appreciator. I love funny.
Wait, hang on.
guys.
So you're someone who appreciates men a lot, or you're someone who appreciates huge men? Because Mephisto does have a gigaform that he shows partway through as they're about to transform him back to the side of good.
I don't know if I'm allowed to answer that question, Joel. I'm an appreciator of men in all their forms. I really like guys. And so a lot of the times the villains appeal to me because they're just stupid dudes. You know, you've got Westar, just a dumb, head-empty himbo man.
That is from Fresh, for anyone who's listening who isn't familiar.
Yeah, you've got Shut in Go Princess, who's just like this pretty, vapid guy who just wants to do his makeup and have a good time.
My favorite standalone episode or moment from Go Princess is with him.
Yes.
He's so good.
Exactly. And then, now in Suite PreCure, they've given us Mephisto, who's just a stupid dad. Like, even when he was the boss of the villains before he had his turn, and he was incompetent, he made me laugh. But the thing that, like, really made me embrace him was when he came back to the side of good, and he's like, I was evil for a while, and I'm gonna spend the rest of my life making it up to my wife. Like, that is a man who knows his place. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, or the standalone movie when his wife, due to being basically mind controlled or whatever, is like, you gotta kill me, and he goes, no, and he just picks her up and he just runs out of the building away from the bad guy, like with her in his arms. That's so good. I don't want to perpetuate some kind of a stereotype that like men who are effeminate are like bad or deserve to be ridiculed, but I almost wonder if they could have given us a little bit of dad energy while Mephisto was still a bad guy. Like, imagine if he was constantly baking or like checking that the minor trio were eating enough before they went out to go do their evil schemes.
That would have been fantastic. Speaking of feminine guys, like, secondary shout out to Falsetto. No, Baritone.
Yeah, the one who likes to put on sunscreen and stayed out of the sun on the beach episode.
Yeah, like, so Falsetto allowed baritone and bass drum to kind of bicker back and forth about who was going to be the leader up until he took the mantle for himself and was like, ha, y'all are my minions
Yeah, he basically
now.
let them waste their time in an argument online when he had the answer sheet in his back pocket.
Exactly, but he broke Baritone's heart, and that humanized Baritone for me to the point where I was like, well, I guess I've adopted another stupid pretty man.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of favorite villain, Mephisto was kind of fun. I didn't take him seriously at the beginning of the season, but like that goofiness grew on me. I don't know if I would count the minor trio as one group again or as three individuals, but I think it really just comes down to Siren as the bad guy, because I feel like Siren was the only one who really had schemes, you know? Siren had an episode where she realized Hibiki and Kanade can only transform when they're holding hands or when they're harmonizing or whatever the case may be, so she physically separates them. Of course.
She was definitely the best at being a villain. That scene where she knocks Hummy over and betrays Hummy.
No!
It actually makes you go like, Siren, no.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she gets an honorary mention for me as well.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I will say, kind of weird. We talked about this in the main series. Kind of weird that the final villain is a bird who turns into a dragon and then turns into a dude like that. I don't understand. This would be rejected in Pokemon because they would say like, okay, you can go from bird to dragon. That makes sense. But why is the third one humanoid? And I think the final villain always has to be humanoid to some degree. But like, just let him be a weird, freaky bird thing. If he had to evolve a second time, let it be into a two-headed bird, or a bird that has little birds instead of feet, you know? It would work better than guy who looks like a Dragon Ball Z monster.
Yes, we have to tell Toei that they haven't been paying attention to Pokemon, although, I feel like maybe they're just following Digimon laws. Because in Digimon, anything can turn into anything. There's a little scrunkly thing that turns into a motorcycle guy.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen the cat that turns into a woman that's,
Yep.
Yeah, the internet had fun with that one. Oh, yeah, and then in the movie, in the one of the movies, Andra Woman evolved into, like, a dragon thing. So, yeah, no consistency on the Gatomon line there.
Yes.
But, yes. We have one little fun game that I came up with that I want to play before we move into final sound bites from our listeners. I don't know the demographics of the people who listen to the show. I don't know if we mostly have, younger people who, should probably be listening to stuff that's like rated PG, or if we're all just a bunch of like 25 to 30-year-old adults who drop the F-bomb, right? I don't know. So I'm going to take a game that people might have heard of, where you pick 3 people and you have to marry one, you have to kill one, and you have to date or sleep with the third one. And I'm going to change it both so that it fits all 4 cures and so that it's age appropriate. So I'm going to ask, all right, which of the 4 cures would you have as a roommate? Who would you have as a coworker? Who would you banish to the Shadow Realm or send to prison or ship to, some country you don't live in? And who would you have as an acquaintance, which would be someone you maybe see on Facebook, but you haven't seen them in person for many years? Also, Magical Girl AU pointed out in her answer to this question that, like, Akko's a literal child because she's, like 12 or whatever. I'm going to say this is in their adult lives. They're all like 20 to 23 or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, absolutely. And I think we were both going to banish Akko anyway. Am I wrong?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't want to reveal my answers just yet.
Oh, okay. I figured we'd go like one at a time and have some back and forth, but if you just want me to list my answers...
I want you to list your answers. I want to cross-examine your answers. Then I want to give my answers, and then you have the right to attack me for my shitty opinions.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Proud bearer of the Trash Taste badge. That's my husband. He earned it in Weeb Scouts. All right, so I think Ellen would be the best roommate.
Okay.
Because she seems pretty fastidious, right? We all know cats like to keep themselves clean. But she's not annoying about it. I don't think she'd leave passive-aggressive notes on your bedroom door, but I think Kanade would. So I think her for roommate. I think that coworker is hard because Hibiki, I think, would be more enjoyable to have as a coworker.
Okay.
But Kanade would work harder. But again, Kanade would be annoying. So I'm going to say Hibiki for coworker, Akko for banish.
Okay.
Goodbye, Akko.
Just because she's your least favorite character kind of a thing?
She's my least favorite. I don't think our personalities would mesh on any level. And yeah, I don't have any feelings toward Akko. And then Kanade as an acquaintance, You
just see her on Facebook posting her recipes every once in a while.
She comes to my mom's parties and brings cupcakes, and I bring cupcakes, and we spend an enjoyable 20 minutes talking about recipes, but we don't actually have to have any interactions beyond that.
Okay. I like that. So I think that I would have to say, I'm going to put Kanade as coworker. Now, if she were my boss, I think that she would, annoy me somewhat. She'd be a bit of a slave driver is too harsh of a word, but somewhere in that vicinity. But I think that if she were a coworker and we're at about the same level, or if she was in a different department, I think she'd bring cupcakes pretty regularly, and I'm willing to eat that. And she seems like she'd be working hard. She'd drive the profit margin or whatever the heck businesses are supposed to do. I think that I'm gonna banish Akko. You're right, because we don't have anything in common. I don't know anything about her personality. If she were my roommate, she would make fun of me. And if we were acquaintances, I don't know what she would post. Pictures of flowers growing? I don't know. So that leaves Ellen and Hibiki, one for my roommate and one for acquaintance. And I really think that Hibiki is off in Facebook land for me. She's my acquaintance, and I think Ellen is my roommate. So we basically match.
Yeah.
The only thing I switched was Hibiki and Ellen.
I will say,
Or
I think
Hibiki and Kanade, I think.
Hibiki would be a roommate who would hang out with you and do stuff.
Sure.
And Ellen would be a stays in her own room roommate. And I have had both, and I like both. But, sometimes you're in the mood for something different.
I think both Ellen and Hibiki, maybe even Kanade, I think all three of them, the older Kiers of this season, would be the type who would encourage you to go out and try new things. And I think that's a good thing to have in a roommate, but I don't think Kanade might be pushy about it, but I think Hibiki and Ellen would just be like, it'll be a lot of fun. We had fun and we want you to have fun, so fun.
Fun. Everybody's having fun. Excellent.
All right. So I think it's time to move on to our final sound bites. This is going to be the last time that we get people's thoughts on anything Suite related for the podcast.
Yeah, until they show up in a movie again, maybe.
Oh, that's true. All right, so we got responses from our two most frequent callers in fan comments.
And I kind of want to structure this. I want to talk about
their answers to the same.
and Ayu's overall thoughts first.
Oh, okay.
And then their, specific favorites.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So, that one welder guy, aka James, overall enjoyed the season. He liked the character dynamics. It had Hummy, of course. The fairy tones, I forgot to mention.
Hey,
what?
We missed a question somehow. I think we accidentally deleted it. We were going to talk about favorite episode or arcs.
Oh, yes, absolutely, we were. Okay. So, we're not ready for final sound bites just yet. It is time to talk about any standout episodes.
So for me, I think the best episode is the one where the fairy tones were the focus.
Yes,
that was
absolutely.
So much fun to watch. The episode I remember you enjoying the most, and maybe I'm wrong, but it had you just rolling, was the quiz show.
Yes.
Villain.
Oh, I forgot that it was this season. That was such a good episode.
Right? Yeah.
And I think he couldn't study because she's dumb. But she kept trying anyways. That one was good. I really liked thematically the episode again where Ellen or Siren, I guess, at that point separates them into their separate dimensions and they have to work together, like that one episode of Dragon Ball GT.
Loved that episode.
It was quite good.
Of Suite, not of GT. I haven't seen GT.
Yeah. And I think I remember liking the Halloween episode, but at the same time, I can't remember anything about it. I know the monster trio showed up, or the minor trio showed up, and two of them had been monsterized, and everyone thought that they had really good costumes, and that's a funny gag, have your big guy turn into a frog monster, and have your tall skinny boy turn into a kind of elfy looking thing, and have them show up for Halloween.
You know what else was a great episode right after Ellen joined the team?
Which one?
When the girls were getting ready for their cultural festival and they kept scaring her.
Oh, yeah! And she was like, oh, they scared me because they care, and then she pretended like she was overly scared when the minor trio tried to, tempt her into doing evil, and then she was like, no, that was a trick. That was just me getting back at the girls.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that one was a great episode. The episode where they decide to go to the mountains and Ellen has dressed up as a cowgirl, just because she read the wrong, what camping is supposed to be, because she's a cat from Majorland. Why would she have ever been camping the way these people do?
She sure learned to read awful fast for a cat.
They have letters and stuff in Majorland. I'm almost positive of it.
English ones? Or Japanese ones, I guess?
Conveniently, yes.
Okay, fair enough.
PreCure runs off of the very amazing concept that everyone speaks the same language, except for in that one episode of Star Twinkle, in which case you have a magic ship that can make everyone translate for each other.
Tart Twinkle. It's a combination of Star Twinkle and Kira Kira.
It's when you just chuck Tart into a warp hole that Fua had summoned.
I would love to see, I think they stopped doing all-star movies by the time Star Twinkle came out, but I would love to see Tart and Fua interact.
Yes, absolutely. We need to raise millions and millions and millions of dollars so that Toei will produce more movies that are just crossovers between different seasons, you know? Like, give me a Kira Kira Delicious Party. You know what I mean? We don't know for sure that they're not going to cross over, but we need to see that.
Absolutely. Well, and listen, I know this is our Suite episode, but really quick, I just want to say about Tart, I feel like he is the dad of the fairies, and I want to see more of him being a dad to all these, like, wayward children. You know, Poloon is trying to run off, and he gathers up Poloon with one arm, but then over here, Chiffon is making shit float, and he's like, no, come here, Chiffon! Fua is running around making warp holes. Stop warping!
Yeah, I would love, if we're just gonna randomly pitch crossovers, I would love to see Chiffon with her freaky magical powers interacting with Fua and her freaky alien magic powers.
Absolutely. Tart has strong single dad energy, and I think he and Mephisto would get along.
Okay, I like that.
Now I think we can go on to Sweet Sound Bites.
Absolutely.
So, like we were saying about James, he liked the fairy tones trying to wake Hibiki up.
Yes.
I loved that from their episode where they have their whole sequence, and then she wakes up and she's like, I'm feeling good. I've been waking up on time. And they kind of high five in secret.
Yeah, because they were like throwing rocks at her head while she was asleep to wake her up just before the alarm goes off.
Yes. And James agreed with us that as a series, they utilized Cure Muse too late.
Yes.
So he gave it 4 out of 5 cupcakes.
A very prestigious honor.
Mm-hmm. And then Ayu didn't really give us any specific overall thoughts, but she did give us a question to ponder. Ayu pointed out that beat sounds close to a naughty word in French, so when characters get localized in French-speaking countries, their name changes, and she asked what we would change Cure Beat's name to.
I believe you were giving this some thought before the episode started. Were you able to come up with like a brilliant, amazing answer?
So, it's about her following the beat of her own heart. So it's kind of a play off of like a music term, but also the heartbeat thing. So I think you could maybe just call her Cure Heart or Cure Cour, which is French for heart. I also like Cure Strummen, if you want an English name.
I like that. I think that for me, I would probably say... Yeah, I don't... Gosh, these questions are so hard for me. I think that... Just Cure Rock. Not rock like a geode, but like rock like rocking out.
Like rock and roll.
Like rock and roll. Yeah, I think that would fit her pretty well.
You could also have it be something about like carrying on. So like rock on. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm thinking about, you have to localize not just her name, but the whole discussion leading up to her choosing her name.
That's true. That's true.
Localizers do incredible work, and they don't get paid enough, so that's me getting up on my soapbox. Please pay your localizers.
Absolutely, especially the one, I mean, like, all translators do a lot of hard work, but I'm always impressed when they can take something that is a pun in Japanese and then they turn it into a pun in English. There's a fight in One Piece, and I remember I was watching fan subs at the time, and the translator's note just said, "Trust me, this is a Japanese pun that doesn't translate well," and I don't think that they, in the dub version, came up with the perfect pun to replace it, but that's kind of like shorthand for like, you know, this is hard, and then there's people out there who actually do that hard work and come up with the correct answer.
Yeah.
It still captures, the intent.
So I think that's really cool. I think that's something a lot of English speakers miss when they're talking about, translations or localizations, is that a perfect one-for-one translation is not the best way to get across the meaning of the original. And so for a localizer to do their job properly, they have to understand cultural context and meaning and what the creator is trying to do broadly as a whole. And then they have to turn that into something that makes sense in the context of the other language version. So I just think that's really cool.
Absolutely. This might not fit with like the music cues that they play, but maybe Cure Soul could also work for Ellen's Cure name.
Oh, I actually like that a lot because that again comes close to like the idea
meaning
of
that
your
they were trying to get
heartbeat.
across. So yeah, thank you, AU, for letting us know about the translation issues that come along with translating beat into French.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for the favorite cures, we had James weighing in that it's hard to choose between Ellen and Hibiki. Ellen she was very silly, and it was funny seeing her interact with Otokichi, who, by the way, just kind of adopts her, and that was adorable. I really liked that as well. But then also Hibiki gives main cure energy, and just has like a big main cure, and has a lot of good energy and is loving and kind and all that.
Ellen, it seems, was a fan favorite because you and I both picked her as our favorite cure. James mentioned her, and then AU also said Ellen. She also said Akko.
She said that the runner up was Akko, was Muse. For the villains, James really liked the minor trio just because they're idiots basically together.
Thank you, James. Fellow idiot enjoyer.
Absolutely. Well, they can't be too scary as villains because they have to get beaten every season or every episode, so might as well make them like goofballs, And then AU also liked Siren as her villain. So just, Ellen appreciator over here in Magical Girl AU's corner.
Yeah, and James didn't really play the game. Shame. James, shame. Send him to the shame corner. But he did say, they'd probably all be his acquaintances. Maybe Ellen is his guitar teacher. She does play guitar, and she does a pretty good job, so I'd be down for that. AU played the game, and AU said Kanade for Roommate, Coworker for Ellen, Banish Hibiki, and Acquaintance for Akko. And Hibiki just got banished because she wasn't a good fit for Roommate or Coworker.
Yeah, absolutely. And Akko was because she is a literal child, which, I understand, but at the same time, I think that in my mind, I was thinking of interpreting the question in a slightly less, like, literal, you pluck them out of episode 48 and put them in the real world type of situation.
Absolutely. And that is kind of all of our sound bites. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share on this season overall? On the way it ended, on the themes, any of that?
Suite is a really good season, and people should check it out. I think that it seems like Ellen is a fan favorite character. So if you're watching it and you're kind of enjoying it, but you're not sure if like you love it, maybe wait until you get to the episodes where that comes into play. And then I would also say that I really liked that it had kind of some of the duo energy, but the entire season wasn't just Hibiki and Kanade. I think a duo could work for 48 episodes if you had the right dynamics between them, but I really do think that the larger cast of PreCure allow for more diverse episodes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I think we're in alignment. This is a good season, and it's definitely on my list of seasons to recommend, which is honestly a pretty long list.
It's most of them, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Healin' Good is not on that list. Neither is Futariwa or Max Heart, and I'm not sure if Maho is. I might actually have to watch Maho again just so I can be like, am I over-exaggerating how much I didn't like it?
Yes, absolutely. Did you have 48 episodes or however long that series was, and each episode was, say, like a burger or a hot dog or something, and there was one that was like burnt and really bad, and that's what you remember? Or are they all mostly subpar hamburgers and hot dogs, for
Absolutely.
example?
Or I think I've told this story on the podcast before, but I was really involved in theorist spaces for a book series I like, and I wrote like these insane long form essays about what I thought was going to happen in the next book based on the clues the author had given us, and none of it came true in that book, and I was so mad that I walked around going, that book was awful, that was so bad, and then I had to reread it for when the next one was coming out, and turns out I still didn't like it, but it wasn't as bad as I remembered. I was just salty. So the same thing could be happening here. I could have had specific expectations going into Maho that weren't filled, And rather than putting my expectations aside and enjoying what it gave me, I was like, well, it wasn't what I wanted.
Now, we've never really been one to stay on the rails, but I would say that it's an interesting time to bring up your thoughts on Maho during the final thoughts on Suite.
Well, you know, I just thought maybe you could slip a link to our ranking video here in the little upper corner of the video.
Oh, yeah. In order to do that, I would first have to finish that episode. finish editing the video for that.
Listen to me. I believe in you.
Excellent. That makes one of us. And that has been your do final thought. Outro goes here.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to sing your song.
Thanks for joining us for such a wonderful adventure. Our musical suite.
Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of
Cure of the What Now.
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at PirateGhostHost. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at Cotwin_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams, and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full.